The Sweet Sound of Success show is brought to you by the Mentor Studio. The Mentor Studio is an exclusive mentoring and training program for social influencers, business owners, entrepreneurs, coaches, and startups, bringing personal development to the underserved around the world. And brought to you by Success Strategists. Simple strategies that work to develop your business with flow and ease using proven strategies and the right tactics. This is the Sweet Sound of Success with Sue Wilhite, Profit Attraction Master. Heather's mission is to empower women with confidence in their finances so they can live their best life for the rest of their life. She works with them to define their goals, get clarity with their numbers, and align their finances with their goals so they start moving toward them with confidence. She has decades of experience as a CPA, a financial advisor, and an entrepreneur. Welcome, Heather.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for being on my show. Numbers in finance, I will admit, have been a bugbear for most of my life because my mom told me that I was no good with numbers.
And that is unfortunate. That happens to a lot of women. It's very unfortunate.
So I've been working to overcome that for the last 5 years. So I'm very excited to have you on the show to give hope to women like me who were told, for whatever reason, that, oh, you don't need to worry about numbers, honey. You don't need to be good with them. You're good with language. It's okay. And it's not okay to not be good with numbers in finance.
No. So it causes quite a panic when you have to step up and take control.
Right.
Yeah.
And it stops so many people from moving forward in their lives. So once again, I'm very happy to have you as
it's my pleasure.
So for those of you who have not seen my show, this is subtitled The Hero's Journey for the Entrepreneur's Soul. And as such, we're going to go through 5 parts out of the 16-step spiral that Joseph Campbell identified as being the one of the overarching myth structures. And so those 5 pieces that we're going to talk about with Heather are her ordinary beginning. There's no entrepreneur is ordinary. Her call to action, the big hairy monsters that she got to deal with. And once again, I'm trying to myth bust here. The guides, the mentors, the coaches, the helpers, the people who supported Heather in her journey. Because let me tell you, no entrepreneur does it by themselves. It's impossible. There's burnout, and we'll hear more about that later. And finally, one of the more interesting parts of the entrepreneur's journey is the journey home. Because entrepreneurs, once they've transformed by having that magical first exchange of money for product or service, that's magic. That there's a transformation that happens. And if it happens to you, but it doesn't happen to everybody else, it kind of causes some interesting stuff. So we'll see how Heather's journey home, as she calls it, the real world, reacts to being an entrepreneur. So Heather, what was your ordinary beginning?
Well, I've been an entrepreneur most of my life. I've had jobs, but they've always been jobs where I could set my own hours. I definitely value the freedom. My latest transition is I stopped doing accounting and stopped being an actual financial advisor dealing with investments. I still deal with insurance, but I stopped all that, and I've created a new entrepreneur journey where I am coaching women and creating courses and helping them find their hope and their optimism. And I always say empowering women with confidence in their finances. And there's a reason I say empower, which I know we're going to get to.
Yes. So what was the call to action? What made you transition from?
I love this. I feel like I have to do this. I've had people tell me I have to do this. I've always coached. I've always taught as part of what I do. There's not a client I met with that I sent away and said, here's what you're taking, here's what you need, bye. They always knew exactly what they needed, why we were doing that. They understood the process. And I was always good at making them, or presenting it in a way that made them understand it. So yeah.
And those are those kind of people. I mean, I've met financial advisors who are like, yeah, give me your money, I'm going to throw it in the account, bye.
I hate those. I hate that. I hate that people are coming away not understanding that they'll go into a bank and the bank is like, here, this is what you need, answer these questions. Okay, that means here, do you want this, or this? And you're out the door and you're like, well,
yeah.
And I pride myself on making sure that people do not have that confusion. I make sure that they understand so that they can make I don't want to tell you what you should and shouldn't do. I want to give you all the information so that you can make an informed decision based on what's important to you.
Right. And that's a huge call to action, is being in service to other people and making sure that they get it. And money is really important. It's a huge thing. I mean, you cannot get away from doing some kind of exchange of something of value for something else of value. I mean, that's just, I've had people say, well, we just need to get rid of money. It's like, what are we going to do? Go back to cattle? I'll give you 20
and
minutes.
It's a shame that there's so much, there's so many decades of it being the old boys network with advising and money management and, oh, well, the husband will handle it. I don't need to look at it. My husband deals with that. Okay, well, you're likely going to outlive your husband. And during COVID, you might just get divorced. Right. So there's a lot of women coming in, finding themselves in a position where they have to take over the finances, and they're very, very scared and intimidated. And I meet so many women who are just, even if they're doing really well in their business, they don't want to look at the back end. They don't want to know what they're doing. They're afraid that, and it can be as simple as that they're really good at having money come in, and yet they don't want to look and see where the expenses are because they think it'll pinch off that flow. And I can get them over that. So yeah.
Right. So speaking of pinching off the flow, what were some of the big hairy monsters that you got to deal with either before or after your transition to being an entrepreneur?
Well, mine was big. He wasn't that hairy, but he was nasty. I was married for 25 years. Mm-hmm. And while I denied it the whole time I was in the relationship, I was very much mentally abused. And financially, he would spend what he wanted, and I kept trying to fill in all the holes of that. And I did not feel empowered. I felt, trust me, this is not your average run-of-the-mill narcissist. This is one of those ones like, yeah. I got to the point finally where I just could not take it anymore. Mm-hmm. And it was just screw the consequences. And if you would ask me an hour before I left if I was going to leave, I would have said no. Hell no. How could I leave him? Like, I'll be hunted, right? But I had enough, and he was acting up, and he said, what you can do, leave? And this time I said yes. And it was a week later. That was June 2015. So 6 years ago.
Wow.
And then a week later, when I was down there, he shot himself in front of me.
Oh,
And it was,
oh, oh,
to give
I'm
you an
so
idea of the mental abuse, I ran 3 steps and turned around and looked back to see if he had faked it,
sorry.
because that was right along the lines of something he would do. So it was September when I realized I was in shock, and October when I finally admitted to myself and other people that I had been mentally abused. So I was put off work by my company. Obviously, they're like, "Oh, well, you can't work. This happened." But I should have been
Right,
off the week before. Mental abuse is horrid. And when you get out of the relationship, it's like having a bottle of champagne you've been shaking. Once that cork pops, when you leave, it all comes out. I broke down in tears at a client's house that week, of the clients I had never met
right,
before he did that. So that's something I want to speak to very much around the world, to get attention to these women need help, because I was so lucky.
yeah,
And after that, my brain took a break, and I came back, and I've been creating this business where it took me a while to realize that was why I keep saying empower women with confidence in their finances. But that's why I had felt disempowered, even with my knowledge. And I
right,
mean, I was hiding my financial situation, obviously. Um, but with most women, if they feel financially empowered, they're going to feel empowered in their lives, because a lot of them don't do things that are important to them because they don't feel financially secure. And it could be just doing something you love, starting that new business. It can be so many different things, but financial empowerment will give you a great start on taking over your life. So I inspire women, and I give them hope and teach them about their numbers and get it. So it's not that scary to look at that. And I've actually helped several women get over that total fear of looking very easily.
nice, very good. Yeah, that's quite the monster and quite the
Yeah.
recovery from that. That's uh,
Yeah.
that's just but you're right. There are so many people in this kind of a relationship that
Yeah.
is horrifying. From the outside, it's just absolutely horrifying. And
Yeah. And
uh,
it's very much misunderstood. People think that, and I've actually even heard people say, well, she must like it. She ends up with another guy that's just worse. It's not that. Your brain's broken.
yes,
You are literally a narcissist detector after that. It's like, oh, he
right,
looks interesting. Yeah, that's because he's the same. Don't go for
right,
what you're interested in. It's not a
right,
good idea.
right, exactly. Your
Yeah.
antenna is broken.
Yes, very much.
Yes, yes, yes. Your GPS is not functioning right now.
No, no, take it
Don't even
offline.
go there. Yeah, yeah. Wow. Well, good for you for being able to dig your way out of that hole and take that to empowering women
Yeah.
and helping them and helping because it's energy, right? And if people are feeling, when you say disempowered, literally it's power, it's energy, and
Mhm.
it becomes a form of depression, which is literally depressing the
Yeah. We
feelings.
we can't actually give our power away. We just think we have.
Right. We
So
just stuff it,
yeah,
you
it
know.
doesn't feel like we have options, but we always do. They may not be good ones, but or easy ones, but they're there. So what's
Yes.
the next question? Let's get past
Yeah.
the hairy monster.
Yeah. So who were your guides, allies, mentors, friends who helped you on this
That's
journey?
a long list.
Pick some
That is
highlights.
such a long
If
list.
we only have 30 minutes.
Okay, my friends, definitely, my family, but for starting the business and getting it going, I have been very fortunate. There's been a lot of things that just keep being put in my path this whole year as I've gone along and been building it up. Joe DiMaria and John Marino, they have Teach to Scale. They have office hours Fridays, and they have given me great information, and they started making me feel like I could do this back last year. And then in January, I ended up at Strategic Alliance Live, and that blew my mind. The people that I met there, the alliances and the networking, and just having the people help me. I mean, I'm in rural Nova Scotia. So there's 3,500 people in the town. There's 17,000 in the county. So when people say, oh, I'm in a small town, it's like 100,000. I'm like, yeah, a little smaller. But so being exposed to the people who I have met because these events have come online, because after that I was at Collaborate, and then there's been Top Talent JV and Speakers Playhouse and so many other networking events, and the people I have met there, and there's been so many, and they're so, the ones that are me, of course, are heart-centered ones, because I tend to have radar that it's like, I don't really like the vibe I'm getting off of you, I'll stay away. So, and actually my number one qualifier to work with me is nice. That's number one. If anybody gives me that knot in my stomach, bye. Sayonara, see you later. I don't care. I'm not working with you. I'm not doing that to myself ever again. Right. So there's been a lot of people, and oh gosh, just to name actual like one-on-one, the list would get too long. I mean, Jackie Lappin took time to help me. There's been Penny Chason, and just there's so many that come into that help me with so many different aspects, and just taking the time to be on a call with me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And, I just want to say to all of you budding entrepreneurs out there, Heather's list is just scratching the surface. There are people who are willing, able, and desire to help other entrepreneurs, and they're so generous. So please don't be afraid to ask for help, because help is out there, as you proved, Heather. It's out there, and all you got to do is ask.
Yeah, and there's actually, even locally, there's groups that you find that there will be, especially female entrepreneurs, there's usually programs put on by the government that will help you as well. So
yeah.
There's a lot out there. And Hay House Writers Group, I'm in that too. I'm hoping that they pick mine for the publishing contract. I submitted a proposal, so.
Good luck with that. We hope to update.
I won't know till the end of August.
We find out.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the journey home. The journey home where, now you're an entrepreneur, and there's folks in your life that aren't, despite all of these wonderful new people that you've met. There's the other folks who aren't entrepreneurs. How do you deal with that? How is that showing up for you?
Well, I've always been an entrepreneur, but locally it's normal. Like, I had an accounting practice, and everybody understands that. Now, especially my parents, my dad's 86, my mom is 78. Oh, dad's 87 then. Anyway, so for them, for the last year, as I've been saying, I got to go work. Well, what are you working on? Well, I'm doing some networking calls, and there's this deal that I'm in that we're doing these business expos, and it's just stuff. Because you can't. How can you explain to somebody that you were in a Zoom room with someone who told you he had 132 million when he was in his 30s?
Right.
It's so removed from what people in a small town would understand. They have no, I mean, they understand the internet's out there, but they don't really have the concept of what I'm doing, where it's virtual coaching. It's getting easier now because I do actually have like a program and different things that are tangible. But getting up to that point, my dad was like, well, are you going to be using the stuff that you know? Like you're not going to forget about that, are you? And it's like, oh no, I'm doing it. Don't worry. So yeah, that's been the challenge. Is just there's some people I can talk to about it that understand, and there's others that don't really.
Right. Yeah. My favorite answer to the standard question, when are you going to get a real job? Is, do you not think CEO is a good enough job?
Now, if you're going to choose your own title, why would you choose CEO? I did a reunion for my high school where I invited everybody that ever went to high school with me. And when I went to the bank to open the account, she said, "What's your official title?" I'm like, "I get to pick?" And she's like, "Yeah, princess in charge." She wrote down president. She wimped out on me. But yeah, I made a sash. I still have it. It's princess in charge. I much prefer that title to
Right.
CEO.
Right. Well, I call it chief entertainment officer, but
That works too. And if anybody, I told people if they thought I was being conceited, calling myself princess, they should keep in mind that I could have said goddess.
Exactly. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And so yeah, so you get to say who you are, you get to take on your own identity, you get to be on your own journey. And I do understand, Heather, because we talked about this a little bit. You have a special gift for our viewers and listeners.
I do. On my website, which is just hcabbott.ca, and I think you'll have that in the show notes. There's a button at the top that says start here, and it'll take you right to the right section where you can sign up for my free booklet. It's it's like 11 pages, but it's an actionable system. Don't just go get it and read it. And then print I made the last few pages printable so that you don't have to take up a whole bunch of ink. So just print the last few pages and you will be able to get clarity with your numbers. It is an overview of my system. Granted, when I do it, I have spreadsheets that do calculations for you. The chart is in there to teach you how to do them because I want you to convert all your numbers to weekly. And it's really easy to do because there's a chart that tells you if you pay it monthly, do this calculation. So as long as you can use a calculator, you can do all the calculations. But I get you to take your obligations and then your net income and your obligations as a percentage of your net income. And I explain what fits in that category is your calculation of your means level. So when someone says live within your means, that's how you calculate it. And then you have food and fun, which is not, it's yes, you have to eat. No, it doesn't go under obligations because when you buy food, you might get tempted to go eat out every night, or you might be really good. There's a woman on MasterChef I saw that spends $40 a week on a family of 4 for food.
I saw that one. Yes.
Yeah, right. Like she's so adorable.
Right.
But yeah, so food and fun is you're tempted to change it. So that part, I like you to use cash to buy because cash controls your spending. You don't like parting with it. There's part of your brain that reacts when you go to part with it. And when you're done, like when you run out of money for that week, you ran out. You know you're done for that week. So the whole system is explained in that booklet. So, well, at a high level, it's not in detail, but there is enough there that you can do it.
So you can get started, feel like you're empowered with your numbers. You get to know your numbers. They're not strangers. They're not enemies. They're not big, hairy monsters.
Yeah.
Friends with the money.
And don't get discouraged because I've seen a lot of people when they do the means level calculation that they're at 90, 100%, and you should be like around 60 or less. But don't get discouraged because it's just a snapshot and it's just information. It didn't change how you were living. It didn't change your situation. But because you do it this way, the list that I have is very comprehensive, and you will be able to see exactly where your money is going. And from there, you can make changes. And I always encourage people to ask themselves, what is actually important to them in life? What are they aiming for? And then look at those numbers and see if they're aligned with where you want to be. And if they're not, make some changes. You have a list.
Yeah. Yeah. And make friends with them.
Yes. Yes.
So, Heather, I'm going to ask a bonus question.
Okay.
And don't be scared. It's cool. It's a cool question.
Okay.
So if there is one part of your process that you could do every day, 5 days a week, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, what part of your business would you do? What's your favorite part?
I would make sure that I was in front of people so that I could see them light up, so that I could see just that I touched them and I brought a bit of brightness to their life. That is what I would do. Like, that's why I want to be a speaker, so I can do it with more people at once. That's why I wrote the book that I haven't finished it yet, but that's why I'm writing the book. That's why I love doing all the networking, is because I've been on calls with people networking, and actually this was just yesterday. And it's a woman who's doing really well financially, her and her husband doing really well. And after 10 minutes, she's like, I feel like I should be paying you. Oh my gosh, I didn't think of that. And she's actually doing a testimonial for me because,
nice.
Yeah, like I've done that more than once, just 15 minutes, and made a big change for people.
Exactly. And that is kind of the number one answer. So good job. That's perfect. Well, thank you, Heather. This has been a fabulous, inspiring hero's journey for the entrepreneur soul. This is an amazing life that you've had, and bless you for bringing that kind of light into people's lives and making their lives a little bit better and a little less stressful by getting empowered in the way that you teach. Thank you so much for being my guest on The Sweet Sound of Success.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been fun. Yeah, I guess I surprised you with all that.
And thank to my viewers and listeners, thank you. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm at this point, I'm going for the magic 100 numbers. So I want to reach out to everybody and say, please subscribe. It's really cool. Once a week, we get a great interview and a great episode.
And just because you subscribe doesn't mean you have to watch. Hit the subscribe button anyway.
Just subscribe. Just subscribe to get one notification a week. That's all. Nothing big. And watch them. They're really fun. I like this one.
Yeah.
So thank you. What are your dreams for your business? You know what drives me crazy? Really smart business owners denying their talents because they've been taught it has to be hard, because they've been taught that they don't deserve their gifts, that they're not worth anything. They've been taught that their gender means they can't express their genius. I'm Sue Wilhite, and I want you to have access to your genius. I want you to go out and rock the world with your genius. So I created the Call to Action Coaching Program. It's all about getting to the heart of you and what you've got to share with the world to make a profitable business that thrives and allows you to make a difference in the world. Click the link to sign up for the Call to Action coaching program today. Don't let your genius go unnoticed.